Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Jeff Lavender and the team at Travel Concierge and our wonderful suppliers and partners in the wonderful world of travel. Today is the third session of Webinar Wednesdays, and it's our last of three under the theme of Explore It All. And I'm excited today to talk about, you guys hear me say this every week, all the wonderful ways you can explore the world. 2 weeks ago, we talked about ocean cruising. Last week, it was river and rail excursions. And today, even more exciting travel ideas as we hear in the concept of exploration, expedition, which can be by sea, but it also can be walking. It can also be biking. And we're going to hear from 4 of our friends from travel companies like Ponant, Lindblad, Classic Journeys, and Backroads. So just like previous seminars, we have 4 different presentations. They'll each run about 15 minutes in duration. We'll be finishing up in just about an hour. If you have any questions along the way, you can pop them into the chat box. Madeline is here as kind of our chat coordinator and can get those questions out to our wonderful guest today. And then this is being recorded. It will be distributed to everybody who is on today, as well as to others who couldn't attend today, but have asked for a copy of the recording. So I also just wanted to say one of the great things about my job is I get to do it from all kinds of interesting places. And today I'm up at Lake Arrowhead in California. I'm actually sitting in my car because this was the quietest place to do this. But that's a little bit of the reason for kind of the background today. We're going to start today with Ponant Cruises and my friend David, who's up in Pismo Beach, California. Ponant is a kind of a blend of both expedition and ocean cruising, but David's going to do a much better job of telling you about who Ponant is and some of their wonderful expedition types of journeys. And just one quick note, I'll be leading a Ponant expedition in September of 2025 in the Great Lakes of the United States. David will tell you a little bit more about that, but for those of you listening, I'd love to have you join me. David, over to you.
All right, Jeff, thank you. And thank you all so much for joining us. Let me get my presentation up on the screen here, and then we are ready to go. All right, so without further ado, I've got a lot to cover in the next 15 minutes, so I'm going to get right into it. We've got a lot of things to talk about at Ponant, and I know not everybody is going to be familiar with Ponant. So quick history lesson. Ponant was founded 36 years ago with 1 small ship, and today we are the world leader of luxury expeditions with a fleet of 12 vessels exploring over 450 ports of call each year. And Ponant is a French company, so that makes us different right off the bat. We source clients from all around the world. We source clients from Europe and France, from North America, from Australia, New Zealand. And so on board, you really get a nice cross-section of people from around the world. We offer very experiential type of journeys and authentic experiences, a lot of in-depth explorations and one-of-a-kind experiences. And our cruise style differs. We actually have about 40% of what we do are expeditions, both in the polar regions and in the tropics. And then the rest would be your traditional yacht style cruising with our beautiful small ships going all around the world. And when I say all around the world, looking here at the map of the world, we go pretty much everywhere that there is a coastline and an ocean. So here you've got a picture of the world. We go just about everywhere with the exception of the Galapagos. There's plenty of other good suppliers that'll talk today that could probably get you there, but we can take you just about anywhere else in the world. And I'll get into some specifics in just a minute. But one thing that's good to know about Ponant is that we are an all-inclusive cruise lines. So everything from gratuities and port taxes, we have open bar 24 hours a day, as well as 24-hour room service, butler service in our suite categories, and unlimited Wi-Fi all over the world. All of our shore landings via Zodiacs are included on our expeditions. And on the polar expeditions, we provide all of our guests with a nice warm parka to wear, and then they get to keep that as a souvenir. We also provide boots to make sure you are nice and warm and dry when you step out onto the snow and the ice. And something new that we just added this year, starting in November, we will include short excursions on every cruise in every port of call. So there really is nothing else to think about buying on board other than possibly some gift shop souvenirs and some spa treatments. So everything is fully inclusive on Ponant. Let's take a quick look at the fleet. We've got a very varied fleet. On the upper left is La Commandant Charcot. She is our polar icebreaker, unlike any other ship in the world, and I'll touch on her in more in-depth in just a minute. On the upper right, we have 4 beautiful sister ships. These ships are the ones that do most of the polar regions and the expeditions in the poles. On the lower left, you've got 6 gorgeous, almost brand new yachts that do almost everything other than the polar regions. They do many of the tropical expeditions, and these yachts will also be the ones in the Great Lakes where Jeff's groups will be next year. We have one small, beautiful sailing ship called Le Ponant, and she is a beautiful little sailboat that holds just 32 guests, but she is ultra luxury and a special type of voyage, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But a closer look at our sister ships. These are the largest in the fleet at only 264 guests. So Ponant is a small ship luxury cruise line, and we do cater to guests who are looking for something on the small side, something more intimate, and 95% of these cabins do have balconies. The interiors are beautifully designed. There's a lot of light. You'll see floor-to-ceiling glass all over the ship, and a very nice pool and outdoor deck space. It's just a very nice, comfortable ship to spend a week or two on. And where can we go with these beautiful ships? So I mentioned the polar regions. This is an example of one of our itineraries going to Antarctica. It is our most popular Antarctica itinerary. It's a 10-night voyage. It leaves out of Ushuaia, but first there's an overnight in Buenos Aires, so you get to enjoy yourself in Buenos Aires a little before your cruise. And then we have charter flights to take you down to the very tip of South America, where you board one of our 4 sister ships and then head to Antarctica. And you spend 10 days on board. You're going to get about 5 to 6 days of landings on the continent, and we do our best to get everybody off the ship 2 times a day in different locations. So you do really get a really good look at Antarctica, the scenery, the wildlife, the penguins, and everything in between. And this is our most popular journey that we offer in Antarctica. Another look at a polar itinerary here would be up in the north in the Arctic. These particular cruises, Fjords and Glaciers of Spitsbergen, would leave out of Longyearbyen at the very top of Norway. We provide charter flights from Paris, and that would be round trip to Longyearbyen, where you board your ship and then you're on board for 7 days, and you're right where you want to be. So there's no long trips at sea. From there, you have 7 days of wildlife sightings and all different types of discovery on board. These ships are packed with experts in all different fields, and scientists, and everything from marine biologists to glaciologists and everything in between. There'll be lectures on board. There'll be all types of learning opportunities, and our guests absolutely love the hands-on that they get to work with the staff on board, and they're all super friendly, and they all speak English, just in case you're wondering. I threw in this extra one just because I did a similar itinerary. This is the best of Japan, and we have many sailings in 2025 to Japan. It is so popular, I warn you, that these 8 journeys in Japan are almost sold out for next year. This has space on it, but just not a lot. This particular cruise features a gastronomic theme. There'll be demonstrations for from expert chefs in Japan. And this is the type of experience you can expect on a Ponant cruise, where it's a theme, different special guests, lectures all the time. That's what we do best on Ponant. And having a small ship to do it just makes it even more and more intimate. So those are a few examples of what we do with those beautiful sister ships. And now let's turn to those Ponant Explorer ships. These 6 expedition yachts are real intimate at just 92 staterooms, a capacity of only 184 guests. These are 100% private balcony cabins on all of these, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Here's just a quick look at the owner's suite. All the floor-to-ceiling glass, the big deck outside, but even the regular staterooms are not too shabby at 200 square feet plus a balcony. So everybody's comfortable, everybody's enjoying themselves on these brand new ships that were all built in the last 5 years. And you can see the public space is also just absolutely beautiful. Lots of great places to lounge and to sit. Even the sauna has a big window, so you don't want to miss anything as we travel through beautiful scenic areas around the world. These 6 ships also have a very special feature. It's called the Blue Eye Underwater Lounge. This is a unique feature to Ponant on these 6 ships. You will see a big fisheye window on the right. There's one on each side of this room. You actually take an elevator down to the lowest level of the ship. You are under the waterline. You can sip on your favorite cocktail or a glass of French champagne while you look out into the sea. And it's just another beautiful feature that our beautiful Ponant ships have. And some examples of some of our tropical expeditions that you can do on these ships would be this particular journey from New Caledonia to Micronesia. This really covers a big part of the South Pacific, starting down in New Caledonia, ending in Guam. You've got stops almost every day in very remote places, from Papua New Guinea to all these little islands in between. These are typically done with a lot of water sports. There's dive options, snorkeling. And then the other thing we do really well are cultural visits. In many of these islands, we will use our zodiacs to get the guests off the ship and then learn about the local cultures as we travel throughout this part of the world. Another example would be out in the Indian Ocean. We do plenty in Madagascar. This particular itinerary of 13 nights would have you going in and out of Mauritius and then cruising all through Madagascar and parts of the Indian Ocean. We also do other cruises in this part of the world, in the Seychelles as well. But again, I just wanted to give you just a general idea of what we do in some of these parts of the world. And here is the voyage along the Great Lakes that Jeff mentioned earlier. This is something that typically we do a lot of in the fall. But in 2025, we actually just have this one journey, and Jeff was lucky enough to grab a few cabins a few months ago, and so we're holding on to those for you. If you wish to go on this journey, you'll see it goes from Toronto to Milwaukee. It's part of our Smithsonian Journeys collection, which is really our most popular type of cruise, because Smithsonian provides us with 2 expert lecturers on these cruises, and they're there every day lecturing about something relevant to the destination. And these close to home journeys just make it easy to get to with coming and going out of Toronto and Milwaukee. And this will be, it's on pace to sell out in the next few months. And luckily, Jeff has space, and the pricing will be even more competitive than what's listed here. Quickly, Le Ponant is our small little sailing ship. She is a one-of-a-kind, beautiful, intimate private yacht, but you can book into it. There's only 32 guests. There's also a staff of 32. And because of her amazing cuisine and service, she was given the Relais and Chateau label recently, which is usually only given to luxury 5-star hotels, but we think she's a floating luxury 5-star hotel, and we'd love for you to experience this as well. She cruises in places like the Greek Isles, the area around Croatia, in the Adriatic, and down in the Caribbean in the winter. So La Commandant Charcot, here is our polar icebreaker on steroids. She is the most powerful and the most luxurious ship in the world when it comes to icebreakers. In fact, she is only about 3 years old. She's got all the luxury features, the Blue Lagoon right off the back of the ship, heated to 88 degrees while you're looking out at just nothing but ice. It is a beautiful contrast. It is a fantastic vessel. She's got everything from wellness areas with an indoor pool and a spa. It's got a sauna and a snow room and all types of wonderful spa features. There's even a nice juice bar where you can get a smoothie. It's just absolutely ultra luxury. The staterooms start at 200 square feet. All of them have balconies, and they go way, way up to our duplex suites at over 1,000 square feet. And you can see some of the beautiful large balconies that these have on the 2 levels. And then, of course, we have owner suites on all of our vessels. This one tops out at close to 1,400 square feet with a full wraparound balcony and just has all the comforts of home. On board this ship, you dine in an Alain Ducasse restaurant, so it's basically Michelin star type dining every night of the week. And no upcharges, no extra for anything on board La Commandant Charcot. She's got science labs on board, so we have a citizen science program you could learn and help with the programming of the science as you go. And everything is included from zodiac cruising to some of the expedition activities where you can walk right off the ship onto an ice floe. You have hiking and snowshoeing. You have kayaking and anything you can imagine in the ice, including dog sledding, where we do this in parts of Greenland. She's truly a one-of-a-kind special vessel. She is ultra luxury, and she can take you to places like Antarctica, where she goes deeper and in more depth than any other ship can get to, because she can break through 8 feet of ice and do it in nice, quiet luxury. There is also a very bucket list type of destination she goes to 4 times a year, and that is the geographic North Pole. And this is something that typically we fill up quite well in advance, and everything from polar bears to all different types of wildlife. It's just a one-of-a-kind destination, and in the most luxurious kind of way. Our Smithsonian journeys, I mentioned that on the Great Lakes cruise, includes the lectures and discussions on board. Everything is included, our most popular type of journey. And then we also have photo ambassadors that join us on many of our polar expeditions to help you learn how to take better photography in whether it's your fancy Nikon or your little iPhone. We also work with the Explorers Club. They come on 12 departures and bring on scientific guests to lecture on these different cruises and different subjects. And responsible travel is in our DNA. It's something that we've done from day one. We could do a whole 45-minute talk on this, but obviously not today because we have other guests coming on in just a minute. If you're a single traveler, please note that we waive the single supplement on well over 100 departures on all of our destination concierge, and find out which departures have that applicable. And also, when you book through Travel Concierge, because they're members of Virtuoso, you do receive a $100 onboard credit per person. If you do happen to book something within 2 weeks of this performance, you will have that doubled as a gift from me and from Jeff.
David, thank you. That's wonderful.
With that said, my time is up.
You know, David, thank you. And we're ready to hand off to Josh at Lindblad. But I want to mention something about the theme of today on this webinar, and you're going to hear it from all of our presenters and friends. As you can tell, with expedition, land, and exploring the world, so much of the things that you're going to hear about today are in the learning and experiencing realm. And the things that set these off, and you heard about it from Ponant, is the educational element and the learning element that kind of goes along with a Ponant experience with Smithsonian and others. And so much of the success of all of our vendors today, from Classic Journeys and Backroads and Lindblad and Ponant, are the quality of the guides, the individuals that are going to help you learn about these destinations in really amazing ways. That's why I just love this whole idea of expedition and land and exploring and learning. in ways that you probably wouldn't have. David, thank you. Josh, over to you as you get set up for Lindblad Expeditions, another wonderful partner for Travel Concierge. I've had the pleasure of being with them in the Galapagos just last year, which was terrific. Madeline, Josh, over to you to kind of get this started. David, thank you again.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Yeah. David, nice job. I know David, and he and I've worked a few different trade shows together, and he's got an excellent product, especially in the luxury space. So definitely a great resource, and I'm glad he's on here presenting today. So quite fantastic, and I learned a few things. Let's see. I will share my screen, and hopefully this works out smoothly, like all technology does. Nice and slow. Okay, click on this, and I hope it works out for you. There we go. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's loading.
Okay. Okay. We see it.
All right, just, mine's not, it's frozen on my side for a second. Come on. All right, now it's a full screen of the ship, right? In Lindblad Expeditions?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for making time for all the wonderful vendors today. And my name is Josh Ogden, and I'm the Regional Sales Director for the Western United States. And thank you, Madeline and Jeff, for inviting me on today to talk about expedition travel. And we know there's so many different types of ways to travel these days, and it's just about finding the right way to travel for you. And but I do want to start off by just quoting what is an expedition. So it's a journey or it's a voyage undertaken by a group of people with a particular purpose, especially that of exploration and scientific research. So with Lindblad Expeditions, it's an opportunity for you to immerse yourself and further understand our intricate planet. And you will become an avid explorer. You're going to experience epic wildernesses and all over the world firsthand, and you're going to enhance your knowledge along this journey. And so just to give you a little brief history of Lindblad Expeditions, we pioneered the expedition travel market. And so we've been doing this since 1958 when Lars Erik Lindblad decided to put together a company to bring people to these hard to reach places in our globe. And so we were the first company to bring non-scientist guests to Antarctica in 1966, and then to the Galapagos in 1967. And so we have quite the history in the expedition, and we are not, I would never call us luxury. We do have luxurious aspects to us, especially on a few of our ships, but I would deem us in the premium category as far as what we do. But I will be going over that and show you a little bit about what we offer today. But how you see it matters. I mean, again, there's so many different options and how to see the world. But I just, for your insight, we do travel to all 7 continents and have well over 100 itineraries. And so we do have small ships and big adventures, and they're in remote destinations or these hard to reach places in the world. And we see the ship as the tool to get you there. And the goal of an expedition is to get you off the ship as much as possible versus be on board. And although, having room service or butler service is nice, I think you might be a little bit tired and want to relax in peace after a busy day in the Galapagos, which I'll get to later on in this presentation. But we do collaborate with National Geographic. So a lot of times people confuse us for National Geographic, but Lindblad Expeditions is its own company. And we've had this partnership with National Geographic for over 20 years. And we actually just renewed that partnership through 2040. But our whole goal in doing that is to bring on board those National Geographic scientists and the photographers, as well as those cultural specialists and those naturalists all on board. And bringing that expertise is probably our biggest differentiator. So we have the most experience in expedition than any other company. And we really want to make our expeditions immersive experiences to really capture that destination so you can feel it. You can taste it even with the local cuisine, which is fantastic. And although you might not be drinking French champagne every night, you still have that option to do so. And all of our drinks and alcohol are included. But with that partnership with National Geographic, I mean, you're learning from the best while on board, and they're intermingling with you. And we only have like one restaurant on board, and so where all of our guests eat, and everything is sustainably sourced, and we're all about sustainability and conservation no matter where we're traveling in the world. And that is why these two companies did come together. So although you'll see National Geographic like on this particular ship in the background, that's the National Geographic Explorer. It is a Lindblad Expeditions ship. And so this also allows National Geographic and those scientists to actively do research on board our vessels throughout the globe. But they are highly touted, and they're the perfect expedition specialists for our team. And I would never say that we have the best team in the world. We have the right team for Lindblad Expeditions and National Geographic. And so each of these expeditions is supported with a comprehensive expedition team. They have remarkable characters and far-ranging accomplishments. And at the end of the day, they have to be a great person. And it's more important than just the PhD that they have. But this expedition team also comprises of our captain and our crew. And something that you'll find on board all Lindblad Expeditions itineraries is that we have a open bridge policy. So no matter what time of day it is, you can go onto the bridge and meet with the crew or the captain, whether we're sailing or docked in the harbor. You can go up there and learn and get perspective from the captain and see what we're truly looking at and why we go to these unique destinations. But some of you might be interested in photography. And so whether you're an avid photographer and have all the most advanced equipment, or you just have your iPhone or your Android device, we'll always have photo seminars on board so that you can capture those moments with your friends or family, or the wildlife that you're seeing and the beautiful landscapes ahead. But these there's Lindblad certified photographers on board, and also National Geographic certified photographers on board. And sometimes you're actually traveling with those National Geographic photographers, especially on our blue water ships. And I'll show you that here in just a second. But another big differentiator for us and how we travel is we cater to families better than all expeditions companies out there. So we don't have any age restrictions. So we're extremely popular with multi-gen families. And so with these kids, as you can see, they're having a great time, but they do have specific programming for them. And this is for, and they automatically get $500 off the price per child under 18 years old. So it's great for those families, and they learn how to drive a Zodiac, which I was quite jealous of on my expedition. But they also get field notebooks, and then they're also involved at the end of the day. Pre-dinner, we have these discussions and seminars about what we saw or explored in the day with our naturalists and scientists on board. But they keep the kids involved too and see the projects or what they've learned. And that's usually a half hour before dinner from my experience. But we don't have any childcare or those type of centers like big ocean lines. And so the parents are responsible for those people. But I do see it as being a great fit, especially for those kids from probably 5 to 10 years old. And we don't have a ton of kids on board. It's mainly in the summer months, probably in like the Galapagos or Alaska is where you're going to find that program. But we also have it in Antarctica, as well as Baja, California, to see the gray whales up close, and also Iceland. So that has been really popular with multi-gen travelers these days. But where do we explore? Just to give you an idea, we do travel the whole globe. So as I mentioned earlier, well over 100 itineraries to choose from, and we're always adding or taking away and revamping itineraries year over year. And so even something on the horizon to mention, I have heard we are going to start going back to the coast of Western Africa. So nothing solid at the moment, but we do travel the globe. So on how we do this with, as I mentioned, the tools for exploration, and these are our fleet. This is our fleet. And so we have now 19 ships because we recently purchased 2 new ships for the Galapagos. But the top 2 rows of ships, we own those ships, and you won't find a vessel larger than 148 guests, which would be the third one from the left on the top row, the National Geographic Explorer. So a maximum of 148 guests. And then that bottom row with the chartered and lease fleet, those are all with our Lindblad crew and on our specific date. So you're not intermingling with those ship's crew or how they sell it directly. But even on the Delphin too, I mean, 28 guests riding along the Amazon with our expertise. So we're going to Egypt, on the Oberoi or the Sun Goddess. And if you want a really unique experience up in Scotland, you can take our Lord of the Glens with just 48 guests. And it's very relaxing, not good for kids, so you're not going to find kids there. And it's a true river cruise to get to the lakes and the rivers of Scotland. But just to show you how we do that. But one of our newest ships, this is the National Geographic Resolution. It is a 138 guest ship and quite luxurious. And it's state-of-the-art, has an X bow there to be more efficient through the wind and also through the Drake Passage or these polar regions in general. But it does have a PC5 hull rating, so that is stronger than a PC6. And so it's not a true icebreaker because we'd have to get lower number, but it is category A PC5. So that allows us to go further into the ice than a lot of our competition and go earlier into like the Arctic, for example, because we have this type of hull rating. So you have a better chance for seeing polar bears earlier in the year versus in the summer. But it's all about bringing the outdoors in. So there's lots of glass on board and quite luxurious. For example, here, this is where I talk about our circle of truth, where we have our expedition leader and our naturalist come and speak multiple times throughout the journey, or even where your photo seminars are. And so we're looking maybe under a microscope one day and they're presenting it on your screens. And so it's a very educational experience. But this lounge is stocked with snacks and of course, even though there's a beer fridge on one of the ships in the Galapagos that I had, and then they'll serve hors d'oeuvres, and that's all taken care of and included. But on this particular ship, the Endurance and the Resolution are sister ships, but you'll find state-of-the-art amenities, including our yoga and fitness studio, from our gear locker where you're storing your gear at the end of the day, from your destination for your jackets or your boots, to the dining room. It's quite luxurious. You can see lots of floor to ceiling glass, so bringing the outdoors in at any time of day. From our Science Hub Center, as well as our lounges, are quite luxurious on this ship. But even something that brings the outdoors in and it is available to all guests on these ships is this glass igloo on board, and we also have a hot tub. So this is dealt with on board, so you don't have to reserve it ahead of time. It's just done on board, and it is included and doesn't cost anything extra. But maybe it's a nice retreat during the day to read a book, or even just watch the ice float by as you're sitting in the polar regions. But Lindblad Expeditions is great for solo travelers as well. And so you might be a solo traveler, but you're never traveling alone. You're traveling truly with like-minded people, and that is an important aspect to expedition travel. But on board these newer ships and all of our ships, we can cater to solos, but we do have specific veranda solo cabins on board the Endurance and the Resolution. So I wanted to give you a glimpse of that really quick. Okay, so quite comfortable. And then if you're more into having a suite, I mean, this is a category 7. So on board, you're going to be surrounded with acres of window glass to keep you connected to the stunning views of the wildlife. And maybe you'll see bald eagles perched on glacial ice slowly drifting away in the fjords of Alaska, or you'll have, of course, maybe a whale breach right outside. Can you get a balcony here? And this is a category 7 on our newest ships. But all the expedition tools are included, and you really have to look at this when considering different expedition companies, because sometimes they charge extra for paddle boards or kayaks and different types of adventures. So you don't have to worry about scheduling. All those expeditions are included, and you get to choose how busy or relaxed or balanced your expedition is. But this particular photo is taken in the Galapagos, and we're going in reverse this time, and it's a wet landing, and the water is quite warm, and it's probably at least 85 degrees out and 70% humidity, and you even have a sea lion there to the left, a playful sea lion, which I saw on my expedition playing on the feet of our driver while he was trying to load our guests. So the one requirement on an expedition, you have to be able to get in and out of a Zodiac. You don't have to be the most active person in the world. You don't have to go hiking all the time or anything. You just have to be able to get in and out and just understand what you are capable of. Okay, so some of the tools we use, as I mentioned, or even for those who don't want to get in the water, like for example, in the Galapagos, we snorkel, we provide all the wetsuits and the gear. But on the bottom right there, you see a glass bottom boat. We have that on all of our ships in the Galapagos for those who want to be with a naturalist and explore the wonder of the ocean, but without getting in the water. And maybe that might entice you to get in the water at another time on that trip. But if you need rubber boots or things of that nature, we do provide that. Okay, so gives you a good overview of what we do. But I just wanted to highlight a couple destinations quickly here. And so the first one is probably one of my favorite places I've ever been, and that is the Galapagos. So we have been going to Galapagos since 1967, and we are a main reason why the Galapagos is a protected region and a national park to this day. But recently we added 2 new ships. They're going to be the 2 on the top right and the bottom right. So that's the Gemini and the Delfina. But we've had the ships that are on the left there for in the Galapagos for years. So we have a capacity of 208 guests now. And I would say if you want a more luxurious feel in the Galapagos with an intimate 48 guests, I would recommend the Islander 2. So the Islander 2 was actually, we purchased it years ago from Crystal, and when they went out of business, this was a brand new ship, but it was the Crystal Esprit, and we've repurposed it to be the Islander 2. And if you have, if you want to charter a ship, and you can talk to Jeff about how to do this, but even the Delfina is a catamaran with only 16 guests, and so it's quite an intimate experience for a week around the Galapagos Islands. And just showing you a map of the Galapagos. I mean, it's about 600 miles west of Ecuador, so it's about a 2-hour flight from Ecuador. And you can either start your journey in Quito or Guayaquil, and we include the pre-nights and the transfers to and from the airport to get you situated, including the inner flight to get you out to and from the Galapagos. Okay, so I would always recommend at least a 7-night journey, and you're going to find that with the Endeavour 2 and the Gemini, as well as the Delfina. And with the Islander 2, you're typically going to find 4 and 5 nights aboard. But you're also going to have the opportunity to combine that with our land program in Peru. So even getting to Machu Picchu or Ollantaytambo and getting along the Inca Trail, which I absolutely love Peru, you're going to have that opportunity to combine 2 fantastic places in the world and maximize your history and wildlife and beautiful scenery. But in the Galapagos,
Josh,
sure.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think we need to kind of finish because we have some other
Sure.
guests here today. And so if you don't mind, I think you were nearly finished.
Almost, yes.
Yeah, with this, but I think we'll finish here with Lindblad. I'm just going to finish by saying I was on the Islander 2, yeah, in Galapagos earlier this year with my wife Rory and some other friends. It was an absolutely terrific experience. Everything about Lindblad, and again, I kind of stress what you're hearing today: much smaller groups of travelers, much more learning, the impact of the guides, this up close and personal, all ages, open bridges. These trips are enjoyable for so many more reasons. And so thank you. And thanks for all the photos. Appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I'm going to move on now. We've had 2 wonderful guests today from Ponant, David, and Josh from Lindblad, but there are other ways to explore on land. And our next presenter are Ed and Susie Piegza from Classic Journeys. And Classic Journeys is, I'm going to let them tell you about who they are, but they're based in La Jolla, dear friends of ours. Clients travel with them, repeat, love them. But did you know all the ways you can explore the world walking? And Ed and Susie concepted this whole idea. And so we're going to hand over to them at this point in time. Josh, thanks again. I appreciate it. And sorry I had to cut you a little bit.
No worries.
It's so exciting. We get involved in all. So, anyway, Ed and
Well,
Susie, over to you.
Thanks,
thank you,
Jeff.
Jeff.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks all very much for having us. Susie, you're going to start you'll start the deck for us? Okay, great. Edward and Susie Piegza from Classic Journeys. We're known as the world's finest walking tours. Before you think, is he going to dislocate his shoulder by patting himself or themselves on the back? We'll go to the next screen. By the way, we'll talk more about Morocco in a moment. But let's go to the next screen, Susie, and we will explain why we can say that. It's because third parties, our guests, and people like Travel and Leisure say that. Travel and Leisure says that we provide unbeatable access to experiences around the globe. They also, or our guests, have for the last 20 years in an unbroken string, named us to the world's best tour operator list at Travel and Leisure. And multiple times we've been named #1, not #1 for walking tour companies, #1 tour operator in the world. Last year, they inducted us into their Hall of Fame for that unbroken streak. So we're super proud of that. We've gotten some other neat awards along the way, but we'll suffice to say that we're really proud of the experiences that we create for our guests. We'll explain that in a moment, and what that means in terms of how they feel about us, which you can see here with some neat scoring in Net Promoter Score and Trustpilot and other ways. So we'll go to the next screen and start to talk about how we do that. So first, I'll just say that Susie and I started Classic Journeys on October 13th of 1995. So coming up on this October 13th, we will enter into our 30th season as a company. And we are still the mom and pop that created the company and run the company. Although we're super proud to say that coincidentally on the 27th anniversary of our company, we joined the Lindblad family. So we're part of Lindblad now, just like Josh is, and we're super proud to be part of the Lindblad family. We always joke and say that when Sven and his dad were bringing the first non-scientists to Antarctica in 1966, Susie and I were being born. And so there's a neat coincidence or combination there of us with Lindblad. So what makes us be able to be the world's finest walking tour companies, and how do we provide the most genuine, authentic walking tour experience for our guests wherever you're traveling with us, whether it's Mont Saint-Michel or other places that we talk about. Susie, go back just for one. Actually, go to the next one. So it's these curated walks is #1. There's sort of 7 things that go into us being able to provide you this exceptional experience exploring on foot at eye level. Another observation would be there's lots of different ways to travel, as Jeff has already told us. You can be on different types of ships, you could be on a bike, you could be on river cruises. There's a lot of different ways to explore. We happen to think that being on foot at eye level is the most immersive way to experience the people and place and culture that you're going to explore. So the first pillar, if you will, of Classic Journeys is these curated walks. Think of curated walks as not is walks with a purpose. Okay, so you're going to be walking along, and at some point in time on each walk each day, we want the scenery that you're seeing to be so cinematic that you're going to turn to Jeff or your Classic Journeys tour leader or your +1 who's with you, and you're going to say, oh my gosh, I feel like we're in a movie. It's so darn beautiful. So first of all, the walk should be spectacularly beautiful, cinematic. The next is that they ought to have a purpose. Your Fitbit or your Apple Watch might buzz at 10,000 steps, but that's not the purpose of the walk. The purpose of the walk is, Susie, to get you to really amazing, only with Classic Journeys access to what we call the makers or to places. Makers for us are people like winemakers, olive oil makers, cheese makers, shepherds, potters, artisans, historians, the people that are so passionate about something that they just want to nerd out about their passion and share it with you and bring you into it and give you tastes of it and help you understand it. And so our walks lead to these visits with these incredibly interesting people. Our walks also lead to places that we get access to just our groups. So places like Stonehenge. If you've ever been to Stonehenge, it didn't look like that for you. That's because you were one of the 5,000 people that go to Stonehenge every day. That's what it looks like when you're with Classic Journeys, because we have special permission to go there before it's open to the public. We also do that with Painted Palace, by the way. These walks and the visits that we curate are led by our expert local guides, our tour leaders. There's a lot of different ways to have a tour leader and have a guide. You can have Susie and me as 23-year-olds, and we were super cute as 23-year-olds. Susie still is. And we were fun and friendly and could lead you around because we scout every single one of our tour regions. But we're not qualified to be Classic Journeys tour leaders. Why? Because we have people like Saida, who you see right here in Morocco. She went to school to be a journalist. By the way, she's 55 years old, and she's raised two amazing daughters who are now adults, one of whom is a doctor and one of whom is an engineer. But along the way, she went to university to be a journalist. She felt like that wasn't fueling her soul. She went back to university, became a tourism guide, and now she guides presidents and prime ministers and Classic Journeys guests around Morocco. So it's people like Saida. And every single place where we go, we've got stories like that of, you know, our guides in Iceland who are descended from 30 generations of shark fishermen and trace their ancestry back to 9th century Vikings and things like that. So you're going hyper local with your guides and tour leaders at Classic Journeys. And they help you, they're the well-connected friend, and they help bring these experiences to life. Let's go to the next slide. Lots of quotes about how much people love our guides. We'll go past that because it's not fun to read all that. We do all of this in small groups, an average of 10 to 12 people, and not more than 18 people on a trip. What that does is it allows us to get access to places that are too small and too local for big groups, or often for even when you would be going on your own. So small groups mean access at Classic Journeys. Think of it that way. Go to the next slide. Who travels with us? If you are part of a couple, or you have a friend, or you're part of a multi-generational family, or you like to travel solo, you're one of us. Really, it comes down to, do you like to explore by spending part of the day on these great walks that lead to these great visits in the company of really interesting other people, both the locals, the makers, our tour leaders, and really interesting fellow travelers? Next slide. We love to eat like and with the locals. This happens to be on a farm in southern Spain. Our guide Ricardo's over there on the right, and the family that owns it welcome us to their private farm for this fantastic lunch on each one of our trips. If you are dining with us and we're sitting at a restaurant in a non-English speaking country and you are hearing English being spoken as the predominant language, we haven't done our job for you. You should be hearing the local language because we like to eat with the locals. We think of food as a great way to discover a culture and a people. Think of it as culture through cuisine at Classic Journeys. And so the opportunities at lunches and dinners and whatnot to do that. We'll go to the next slide because it shows something really fun and very topical. Just a few months ago, the leaders of the G7 summit went to where? They went to Puglia for their big G7 summit. So these are the, the leaders of the free world, and they could go anywhere for their summit. Do you know where they went? Borgo Ignazia. That's the pool at Borgo Ignazia. That's our hotel where we start our trip in Puglia. So when you can go anywhere, and let's just say the leaders of the free world have a pretty good sized budget to have their summit, they chose our boutique hotel in Puglia. That's because we find places that are amazing little boutique properties that are really highly acclaimed, award-winning, where we know the owners ourselves because Susie and I go and meet them, and then we bring our team there to meet them, and we create this bond with them. And so we have the opportunity to share that with our guests. And so once again, if it has had a life, prior life as a villa or a castle or a chateau or something, we love that because again, it's an opportunity to be showing you the culture of a place, in this case, through the architecture of it and where you're staying. And then regenerative travel. You'll hear a lot of talk today probably about sustainability and things like that, and that's really important. What regenerative travel means at Classic Journeys is we happen to start Classic Journeys right about the same time as the 0 kilometer food movement started in Italy 30 years ago. And that whole farm to table concept really locked into Susie's and my minds that, you know what, if we can do this with food, we can do this with travel as well. And so everything we do is local, local, local. And so your travel with us helps to preserve the cultures, tradition, ways of life, and economies of the places we explore at Classic Journeys. Okay, we travel all around the world. We'll skip past that. There's lots of places you can go with Classic Journeys. One of the things we'd love to do is we like to overcome those little problems that you have when you travel. We call those above and beyond benefits, where we turn things that would bug you into things that would delight you. So for example, who wants to stand in line when you check in? Even if Jeff takes us to an amazing hotel, we don't want to stand in line to check in. So we have invisible check-in. You're pre-checked in already with us. Who wants to sit down? You might not know this about Jeff. Jeff loves wine, especially champagne. And so if you're in a wine producing region with us, we have wine on us. So we're not sitting down trying to figure out who's going to have white, who's going to have red, how much do you want? And then you have to pay for it at the end. Wine on us. On many of our trips, we have perfect pairing dinners where the chef has gone to the market or to their garden and they've combined multi-courses with perfect pairings of wine so that you get to try and maybe be a little bit more experiential, maybe go out on the edge of what you might want to try in some of these amazing regions. And then we have the privileged access that we talked about earlier, that only with Classic Journeys access. There's two ways to travel with us. Join us on any one of our published group trips. Go to classicjourneys.com, look at our tours, you'll see published departure dates. Join us on one of those, you'll be with a really interesting group of people. Alternatively, you can make it private. Click right on the Make It Private tab and you'll actually see the pricing. And then call Jeff's team and say, I want to do this trip just for the 10 of us, or just my multi-generational family, or just my spouse and me. And we're happy to make that happen for you. Okay, let's talk about a few regions really quickly. So I was on tour once with Rachel Roth, who's the editor at Fodor's, and we spent a week together, and we were sitting down at dinner on the last night, and she said to me and to our group, I've been to Iceland. No surprise, she's the editor at Fodor's, but I've never actually experienced Iceland until I saw it with Atle in Classic Journeys. That's Atle on the left, and that's our guide, one of our glacier guides on the right, and that's yours truly in the middle. Fun fact, the largest national park in Europe is in Iceland, and it was created by that guy on the left, Atle, who the president of Iceland went to and said, lead the charge to take all of these glaciers and make them into one national park. And that's what he did. And he will, if you bring it out of him, he'll be happy to chat about it, but he doesn't brag about it. Next slide. And so we're with these amazing guides in Iceland who are descended from Vikings. We have fantastic boutique accommodations, and you get to do all kinds of cool things like hike on lava, on volcanoes, and to snorkel between tectonic plates, and have a magnificent picnic on the tongue of a glacier, all kinds of really neat things. This guy's name is Ulisse. He is a second generation Classic Journeys guide. His dad, Sergio, actually scouted all of our 3 southern Italian trips, Amalfi and Puglia and Sicily, with us, and was the OG among our guides 30 years ago. Now his dad has retired and passed the baton to Ulisse, who's now in his 10th season, I believe, of guiding Classic Journeys trips, and is living up to his old man's standard of being just an exceptionally well-connected friend. On our Amalfi Coast trip, for example, here's Positano. We actually stay 2 nights in Positano. We actually stay 2 nights in Capri. For those of you who have been to Positano or Capri during the middle of the day, you know it's a mess. But if you're there like the locals in the morning or in the afternoon and over the evening, you feel like you have it to yourself. And that's what we do on this trip, as an example. The Galapagos, you'll hear a lot about the Galapagos today. We all know that Lindblad, you went from Darwin in the middle 1800s to Lindblad in 1967. Everybody was going there on ships. And then about 14 years ago, we created island-based travel in the Galapagos, where we paired 3 different islands with a couple of nights each, and created island-based travel in the Galapagos. So maybe you're or you're part of a couple or a group of friends where you can't or don't want to be on a ship for a week. You can be with us on islands in boutique hotels, with every day being in the water, on cool hikes on volcanoes, snorkeling, kayaking, etc., seeing giant land tortoises. And then we have Cuba. In 2013, under President Obama, we were one of the first companies to receive our people-to-people license to bring Americans to Cuba legally. And throughout several presidents and all kinds of things that have happened in Cuba, we have an unbroken string of bringing Americans to Cuba legally. And we have a very special way in which we do that, both on our long weekend in Havana trip and our week-long trip that goes from Havana to the Bay of Pigs to Trinidad to Cienfuegos, where you literally get 500 years of Cuban history in one amazing week, snorkeling in the Bay of Pigs, meeting coffee plantation farmers and owners. As you see on the left there, actually having a gourmet lunch at the Bay of Pigs, meeting the craftsmen that restore these spectacular 1950s cars. In their fun story about this. No, go back for 1 second, Susie. 2013, we're at the only private restaurant in Havana. The owners come to us at the end of our meal and they say, have you ever heard of a thing called Facebook? And we said, yeah, we know about Facebook. And they said, could you tell Facebook that you like us? And we said, sure, we'll tell Facebook we like you. Fast forward 5 years later, I'm with my friend Julio. He and his wife Nadalis own the company that restores these cars. And he takes me into his paint bay and he says, this car is going to go into service next week. And I said, great. And then the following, about 3 weeks later, he emails me and he says, you'll never guess who I drove around in that car that you just saw in the paint bay. And I said, no, I can't guess. Who was it? And he says, Mark Zuckerberg. In the span of 5 years, it went from, have you ever heard of Facebook? Could you tell them you like us? To, I just drove Mark Zuckerberg around Cuba. So it's an amazing place to go. And I think the last slide that we have here is our Tuscany trip, where we combine Chianti and the Cinque Terre. We actually stay for 3 nights at a villa hotel that's owned by a count and countess that are like Susie's and my aunt and uncle, and you get to experience that. There's probably nobody here that would enjoy that more than our friend Jeff Lavender, because they have wine and champagne. They're amazing people. And then Morocco, where we talked about Saida already, but this magnificent exploration where we stay at places like the property on your right that was actually featured in Architectural Digest because it's so beautiful. And we go on walks through oases where we meet village women that are going from one village to another. And it's just this magical, magical place where you feel so far away, but so safe and comfortable. And there you go. Contact information for how to connect with Jeff and reserve your next Classic Journeys trip or first Classic Journeys trip.
Oh, Ed, I love your enthusiasm. Ed is dear friend, terrific guy, and everything he says about these trips are true. You know, all the suppliers and friends that we're presenting to you today, I've worked with personally. We've had our top clients on these trips. We've entrusted our multi-gen families to Ed. We've entrusted couples who want to see Italy and Chianti. We've had guests with them in Iceland. We've got a family of, I think a whole family of 12 doing, I think it's Costa Rica later this year. So,
Yep.
And they all come back and say exactly what you've heard. Best trip I've ever been on, and never been able to experience it this way except through Classic Journeys. So thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, love you too. We're sorry we're running a little bit late today, but I want you all to stay on, please, for to hear from our wonderful friend Lee Sassoni from Backroads, and we'll finish up with Lee. It's really worth staying on. We're sorry we're running just a little bit late, but enjoying the world by bike and or hiking is another way to explore. All over the world. The company is called Backroads, privately held, owned by Tom Hale up in Berkeley. Lee, over to you. I met Lee last year on a Backroads trip in the Canadian Rockies. It happened to be a hiking trip, not a biking trip. I'm sure I was the oldest guy on it. It was hilarious.
No.
But it was so fun. Thanks for joining us. Tell us about Backroads.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the warm introduction, Jeff, and great to hear from the other suppliers. So my name is Lee. I'm the assistant director at Backroads. Backroads, just to pop up here, we've been working with Travel Concierge and Virtuoso, which is part of the larger group, for over 30 plus years now. Backroads recently has won some awards with Virtuoso, which I'd just like to shout out to show trust and enthusiasm for Backroads. We're in the Virtuoso Adventure community, as well as Family Celebration, where we were recently recognized as top 5 partners throughout the country. And we won awards as well for highest annual growth for a tour operator. So Backroads doing some incredible work out there with agencies and partners like Jeff and the Travel Concierge team. So we just say thank you so much for working with Backroads. So to give you an idea, as Jeff mentioned, and almost let you run with it, you give a great presentation on Backroads. Backroads is a family-owned business started in 1979 by Tom Hale out of Berkeley, California. Still a family-owned business to this day. Tom's daughter, Avery Hale Smith, growing through the ranks as our executive VP, keeping the business in family. An incredible company to work for. We see about 60,000 travelers each year, and that's continuing to grow. More and more guests looking to travel actively take these trips with Backroads. We've got about a 50% repeat rate, so it's incredible to see once guests come on one Backroads trip, they learn to love it, they understand it, and it really is a great offering. Usually what we like to say, we debunk some myths when we talk about active travel. What does that mean? What does it mean for Backroads? And so during the next few minutes, I will talk to you about that and just highlight a lot of the ways that Backroads is different. So we currently operate in over 55 countries. We're in 21 US states and 22 national parks. So we have a huge offering globally, which is incredible. We have over 500 different itineraries and over 6,000 departure dates. And so Backroads, important to keep in mind, we don't do custom or tailor-made itineraries. Everything is set departure, set itinerary. And with the plethora of options here, we really look to our advisor partners like Jeff and the team to help get the right guests on the right trip for them. Being an expert, being a specialist, Jeff and the team, they know Backroads, they have access to work with our team, and we'll ensure that we're getting you on the best departure for you. Backroads does do small group departure trips, and so it's about, on average, 15 guests. Our biking trips max at 26, and our walking, hiking, and multi-adventure trips max at 20 guests. And so you are traveling with other like-minded individuals, which is great. And what we like to say is Backroads is less group travel than it is traveling with other people. Our trips are, we also say, supported, not guided, and we give guests a lot of opportunity throughout the week to choose different routes and options that work best for you. So jumping into a little bit of the different segments we offer, many people know Backroads as the biking company, but we really do offer so much more. We have our walking and hiking trips, we have our multi-adventure trips, and within these different segments, we offer women's only adventures, we offer Dolce Tempo easygoing trips, we offer snow adventure, safari, we partner with some great cruising companies, which I'll talk about momentarily. So these are just the umbrella kind of segments, and then within each, we have so many different offerings, again, to really apply to all different types of travelers out there. Backroads has adult trips where our average age adult is between 55 and 65. And then we have family segmented trips where we segment by children's ages. And so this is great, again, bringing similar demographics on the trip. And with that, average range of 55 to 65 for Backroads trips, you don't need to be a triathlete or a marathon runner or a spry 22-year-old to enjoy a Backroads trip. We really do offer for all traveler types. We have guests in their 70s and their 80s joining trips with us, really a whole range. And as Jeff can attest from the trip that we went on last year, we really accommodate everyone on the trip with very high touch, hands-on service. And so for our bike trips, to give you an idea, each day guests are presented a small range of activity option that you can choose from. Now, this is all presented well in advance, so you can see our detailed planner. It's got all of these different options. So let's just say for a biking trip, we have a 10-mile ride, a 15-mile ride, and a 25-mile ride. Based on how you're feeling each day, you choose the route that works best for you. Our bikes are equipped with a GPS on the handlebar, and you get to follow that route at your leisure. You can stop and take photos. You can stop in a cafe or in a town, and we do support stop stops along the way where we set up cold drinks, snacks, we have sunscreen, air conditioning if anyone is feeling tired or like they're finished. If at any point you are feeling tired, you can jump in the van, we'll take you to lunch, or we'll take you back to the hotel to enjoy. Similar for our walking and hiking trips, they're designed in a very similar format. Each day we have a small range of activity options based on distance and elevation. For our walking and hiking trips, we take great advantage of our on-trip app. You can download everything in advance and follow along. For anyone who has technology difficulties, Jeff and the team will work with you on the app and really make sure that you're set up well to enjoy the trip when you're going on with Backroads. And then our multi-adventure trips, they're hybrid trips. So it could be one day walking, one day biking, another day rafting or horseback riding. Really just depends on the destination. Most of our family trips are formatted as multi-adventure because it works really well for children that are traveling with us, just to keep it different, doing something a little different every day. And personally, these are my favorite style of trips. We rank all of our trips by difficulty, and I'll go through that in a moment. 1 being the easiest, 5 being the most difficult, so that way you're able to gauge what is the best trip fit for you. And then we also have this Dolce Tempo easygoing by design trip. These come in around a level 1, maybe even a 0.5. They're designed for shorter distances, flatter footing, and really time to enjoy the luxury properties we stay in, as well as have time to relax in the afternoon, more cultural sightseeing, culinary, dining, etc. So really great for anyone looking to have that Backroads experience, but at a slightly slower pace. These also work really well for multi-gen families where you have a small group traveling together. So mentioning those different paces, Backroads is all designed to go at your own pace. There's no obligation. There's no commitment needed on a day-to-day basis. And we're not running those typical follow the group trips where you're following the flag, everyone's sticking together. As I mentioned before, you have your different routing, you're able to choose, and you're able to go at your own pace. For biking trips, we do offer e-bikes complimentary. It's really helped open the field for more and more travelers to be able to join and enjoy. And this works really well for couples or families. Maybe one person in the couple is a stronger rider or walker than the other. They want to get in those extra miles. The other person can kick back, relax a little bit, go on the e-bike, find other like-minded travelers, and our guides are there to support them every step of the way. So another huge selling point for Backroads are our trip leaders. So we employ over 900 leaders globally. They are Backroads employees, and they are the ones running trips on a day-to-day basis. We don't outsource. The leaders go through rigorous training each year, and this really ensures that no matter whether you're traveling in Argentina, Vietnam, the US, you're going to have an incredible experience. Most guests who go on our trips, they come back, they leave reviews, and the majority of them highlight their leaders by name. So they are really getting to know you, your likes, your dislikes. Maybe you like architecture, maybe you like art. They will make sure that you're seeing those things throughout the week. Maybe that's, on Wednesday afternoon, there's something in the afternoon you don't want to miss. So on Tuesday, you can take it a little bit easier, knowing that on Wednesday, we want to make sure that you're seeing these aspects of the trip. And then the other part is we blend active with luxury. So we stay primarily at 5-star premier hotels. We also have another segment called Deluxe, which is a mix of 4- and 5-star hotels, as well as Casual, which is 3-star hotels. And there you can think national parks or more rustic destinations. But really, guests love the blend of active and luxury. So the properties that we're staying in, we're leaving plenty of time for you to enjoy the properties, especially in the afternoon. You can have your spa treatment, explore the grounds, relax in your room. We're having these incredible dining experiences ranging from Michelin star dining to farm to table, local family restaurants. We recently started partnering with Under Canvas, which is an incredible luxury glamping company. So we're incorporating them into some of our itineraries in the US. Great for guests looking to have that experience. And other prestigious brands that we partner with include Relais and Chateau, Belmont, Auberge. Some of these names you may know. Jeff is very familiar with all of them and booking them, and they really provide an elevated level of service, dining, and just overall comfort that Backroads guests really enjoy when traveling with us. So as I start to wrap up, I want to highlight our cruising product. So we partner with Alma Waterways to do river cruising. Essentially what we do is we take 15 cabins off their ship and we run the trips using the ship as the floating hotel. So each day you're going off ship, it's Backroads bikes or e-bikes, you're getting further into the countryside, really getting to experience more and then coming back to the ship in the afternoon. All of the ship activities and amenities are available. This makes an incredible partnership. These are small ship departures, and we find guests are really loving them. We work on currently 6 rivers. The Douro is probably the most popular currently, as well as the Danube and the River Seine. And then we also partner with Ponant, who you've heard from today, and Emerald. And what we do is we partner with them for ocean. So Ponant is doing destinations for us like Antarctica, Iceland, Tahiti, and then Emerald in the Mediterranean we're partnering with for, we have Greece, Venice to Croatia. Here you can see Chile, Patagonia, and fjords with Ponant. And again, best of both worlds, having your Backroads leaders, equipment, but all the access points of the ship. And these aren't going to be biking trips. These will most likely be multi-adventure trips, being that you are out on the ocean. So during a typical Backroads trip, there are about 5 nights, 6 days. Further afield, there's 7 nights, 8 days. We offer essentially including everything during that time. We say most meals because we do leave 1 or 2 on your own meals for guests to enjoy. Helps you break off from the wider group, spend time with your spouse, family, by yourself. Alcohol is included on select days. It's not included throughout the trip, but really depending on the destination you're in. I think if you're in France, for instance, you're going to be drinking a lot more wine than if you're in Peru, just by nature of the destination. Backroads doesn't offer pre or post flights, hotels, or transfers. So working with an advisor like Jeff and his team, really helping you build out that wider trip. So not only getting you on the best Backroads trip for you, but helping you build out your wider vacation as well. So I know we're at a little bit of a time crunch, so thank you so much for your time and attention today. If there's any questions, please let Jeff know. Him and I went on a trip last year together, had a fantastic, fantastic time. Huge supporter of Backroads, and I know Jeff has some trips on the docket for next year as well, which is really exciting. So thank you for your time.
Lee, perfect. Thank you. We'll wrap up now. I just want to say 2 things. One of the team members at Travel Concierge is a woman named Kathy Myers-Couch. Kathy is an avid Backroads person. She's also part of Travel Concierge. She's not leading, but will be on 2 Backroads trips in 2025, Scottish Highlands, and there's a few spots left on that, as well as a Belgium, Netherlands, kind of windmills. They're both in the May timeframe. So if you have any interest in traveling with Kathy and some of the other Travel Concierge clients and guests, please join us. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for all your attention today. I apologize we went over a little, but I'm sure you enjoyed all of this and learning all the ways that you can explore it all, expedition and land. Thanks again to all of our wonderful partners. Madeline, thanks for putting all this together. And I'll say goodbye now from Lake Arrowhead. Take care,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.